According to a study, about 4 in 5 Canadians say too many places are asking for tips, while few believe that customer service has improved. Now, we call it tip fatigue, which has been setting in, which results in a demotivation for consumers to enjoy a bite in public. This is something we were talking about earlier. Have you been feeling this way? Back to the panel, let's ask you guys. First of all, I want to jump off of what we were talking about in the last segment. Is it fair to say that, hey, because I have an interesting stat here, male patrons were more likely to tip female servers higher amounts, 10 to 12% more compared to what they tip male servers. On top of that, perceived attractiveness could increase tips for female servers by as much as 25%. So how is that fair to somebody who
you could ask many female bartenders and servers how often they get harassed or things like that. So, I mean, there's lots of...
So you think that's an equal trade-off?
Well, I don't know if it's an equal trade-off, but, you know, I think that the people working those jobs deserve to make great money.
But in a society where everything's supposed to be fair, how can you possibly say that maybe a service charge option like they have in Italy isn't the right way to go? Rather than saying, you know, based on the attractiveness of the server or based on if the male or female.
Because then there's no incentive to work harder. And in any team at any restaurant, there's going to be the people
But if you're not the best looking person, why are you going to go be a server?
So I don't know if the population is that judgmental, but here's what I'll say.
I think it's subconscious a little bit.
Here's what I'll say to this. I think that this mentality is counterintuitive to the problem, and this is what I call the lazy liberalism part of it, because we think if we pay people a living wage, which is $23 an hour, it's not my definition, it's what they told us it was. You're going to have a waiter now working for $48,000 a year. After tax, you're going to make $36,000 a year. Divide that by 26 pay periods. Find me someone in this country that is going to be able to afford to live on that job.
Hang on. Now, taking that in perspective, do you think that even if you're getting $23 an hour, they're going to have an 8-hour shift, 40 hours a week?
No.
Ain't going to happen. From a business perspective, you're going to downsize the hours that they're going to work, because don't forget, there's payroll source. I have to match CP. I've got to double EI. I've got to do WSIB. So for every increase in the taxation is an increase to the business. So from the tipping perspective, if the customer, from my point of view, I'm making money off the food. And of course, it's about customer experience, customer satisfaction.
You're incentivized to have the servers be incentivized.
That's my incentive to my staff.
Okay, let me ask this.
Be treated like you want to be treated.
So should patrons just expect to leave a tip when they go out? You kind of made a joke to me about your slippers earlier, but what did you say to me?
My slippers?
Yeah, about your shoes.
Oh my God, no. Okay. So you asked if I go out for dinner if I can't afford to, and the answer is no.
Wait,
the loafers stay home.
Can't afford to pay the tip and pay for the meal, or can't afford to pay for the meal.
But that's not even. I don't think it's part and parcel. I think that we're complaining about 15% of a bill. The average dinner bill now is what, $150? That already is disincentivizing for me to go spend money at a restaurant.
It's not 15%. It's 20%, which adds another $40 to
just for your sake, I was budgeting on the more conservative side. Okay. So 20% now. So that's $30. So am I going to let $30 stop me from eating out for dinner? No. But I'm also a little biased because I did this job, number one. But if I couldn't afford $150 for dinner, the loafers are at the front door.
Okay, on that note, so in the States, we know that some states, you're allowed to pay servers as low as $2, and I believe it's 17 cents an hour if tips make up for what the minimum wage is, which in some states might be like $7 or $13. Is that okay? That you're allowed to have tips as a restaurant owner subsidize what you should be paying your employees?
It's really hard to say.
I
think it kind of depends. For me, I was really fortunate to work in places where the average bill was high. The tips were great.
Did you still get minimum wage on top of tips?
Correct.
Okay.
So I think if you're working in a place like that, you're not going to care. But if you're working maybe in a small diner or something like that, where the average bill is a lot lower, the average tip is going to be a lot smaller, it might not actually, really...
I see what you're saying. From a business perspective, okay, you only have to pay your servers now $2 an hour, $3 an hour, and then their tips have to make up for it.
That you're talking about in the U.S.
Right.
Right. So if that's the case, but if they're making, on average, $30 an hour, they're not going to be complaining about the $2 or $3, right?
Exactly.
And I understand that part. Okay. But if somebody is working in a fast food restaurant at $2 or $3 an hour, that's absolutely insane. Nobody can survive on that. Now, I get higher wages, but higher wages in the food business, if you take McDonald's in California when they went to $20 an hour, right? How many people stopped going to McDonald's? So now those people are getting laid off. That McDonald's corporation doesn't want to do business in California.
So there's a balance.
There's a balance, of course. Now I can only raise my menu prices so much.
Okay,
to
leave it
cover
right
my
there.
costs because we still got to do carbon tax.
We'll jump back in. We'll be right back.